You're listening to Validated by Victoria.
Hi, my name is Victoria Vesh, and welcome to my newest podcast called Validated by Victoria, coming at you from the Berman Law Group studios right here in Boca Raton, Florida. So for my podcast, we're going to be talking a little bit about everything: life, dating, work, social scene, advice, getting over grief. It's going to be an array of topics. And if you follow me on Instagram at Victoria Vesh, you'll be able to make suggestions. And for the most part, I'm always going to have a guest on. So this is going to be a weekly podcast, new content dropping midweek each week. And if you don't know me, or if you do know me and you want to know a little bit more about me, well, here's your chance. This is my introduction to myself and to the podcast. So a little bit about me. I'm 28. I'm single AF. Yes, single AF. I am a dog mom, just trying to find the best dog dad out there. Living my best life, just graduated from law school and working at the Berman Law Group. Hey. So a little bit about me. I'm from a really, we can add a lot of really small town, like really small country town in North Carolina. That's where my accent comes from. I grew up on a buffalo farm. Yep. That's right, buffalo. And I really want to have my dad on here to talk about why buffalo. So hopefully that'll be a later podcast. So we'll save that for a different time. I played basketball my whole life. I got injured. I got injured and said, you know what? That's that. I just went to NC State University. Go Wolfpack. Hey. And was bored not playing a sport my first year. So I decided to become an NBA dancer. Who does that? Me. And your girl had 0 moves, but by the grace of God, I made the team. So there's that. I got to do some really awesome things with the NBA, though. I went to Rio for the 2016 Olympics. I was one of 12 girls chosen, so that was really awesome. And then I went to China for global games and got to meet Michael Jordan and escort him on the court. So that was, one of the highlights of my life. I'll have some former teammates on here. Sorry, guys, if I talk weird. It's my country accent trying to come out strong. But I'll have some former teammates on here. We're going to chat about those golden days. And during my 3rd year on the team, so this is the kicker. This is the crazy part. Welcome to the plot twist. I was diagnosed with a brain tumor. 3rd year on the team, 23 years old, living my best life, partying, doing all these fun things. And then I get diagnosed with a brain tumor. I'm going to do another segment about that soon because it is a really long story. Yeah, it was wild. I started losing my hearing, didn't know what was going on, and started getting headaches. I started blacking out, but I just thought, maybe I'm drinking a little too much tequila, but no, that wasn't it. My mom was like, girl, you got to go to the doctor. I never went to the doctor, and I was misdiagnosed 6 times during that whole time going to the doctor. And yep, lo and behold, after all of that and 2 scans later, found out I had 2 tumors and then had to go through surgery and radiation. And that was the end of my MBA tenure. But I am definitely going to do a whole segment about that later because it is a really long story. I'm going to try to have some of my friends from the National Brain Tumor Society, which I'm a spokesperson for, to come on and we'll talk all about that. But yeah, crazy plot twist of my life. From there, I went to law school part-time. Yep, I still decided to truck along, do law school. I did Monster Energy Girls. I traveled the NASCAR circuit. A lot of fun. Had some really crazy relationships in between. Definitely going to be talking about those. I studied law in Spain. And then, our favorite thing, the C word, hit the nation and life just took a change traumatically. Again, another plot twist of my life with my mom passing away. And I'll have another podcast about that later because that's a long story in itself and just talking about grief and how to overcome it and how I'm getting through each day. But now I'm here doing a podcast, Validated by Victoria. Just an intense life. I feel like I've lived 50 years in 28 years. But enough about all of that. About the podcast. So this podcast is going to be a little bit about everything that I think is valid for everyone to know. So in my opinion, things I've learned, I want to share with the world, like, hey, let's do this a little differently. This is what I learned. This is what I wish I did. This is going to be everything I think that's pretty valid for you to know. And the first podcast obviously is a little intro about who I am and what I'll be doing, but I just want to say this and kind of wrap this thing up right here before I have my guest on. So if you know, you know, I love media, I love content, but these past 6 months have been pretty rough for me. I miss my mom dearly. She was my best friend. She was my soulmate, and my life will never be the same without her. She was my number one fan, and she would want me to continue to do what I'm doing, so that's why I'm here. That's the only reason I keep living and breathing, is to continue to make her proud and happy. That's like my number one goal. And something I'm about to reveal that no one else knows, that is Victoria's secret, is that I am writing a book about my mom, on top of everything else crazy that I'm doing right now. And I'm also in the works of starting a foundation in honor of her to help foster children achieve their dreams. My mom always wanted to adopt a child so bad, but she had her hands full with my brother and myself. So my goal for my mom is to keep her name going in this world and for her to never be forgotten. So stay tuned for those things unveiling this year. And I promise this podcast is not going to be sad. I know you're like, oh my gosh, this is like tears welling up, but I promise it's not going to be sad. It's to motivate you. We're going to laugh. We may cry. I'm not going to say no. We may cry, but mostly you'll get some substance out of this podcast, and I hope that can help you get through every day or a bad date or just over life in general. So thank you for tuning in to this introduction podcast. I hope you keep listening and stay tuned for our guest coming up on our next podcast, and we're going to talk a little bit about life, dating, fitness, and everything in between. So thanks for listening to Validated by Victoria.